In this unit, we will see commands that process files at the level of lines, for example, reversing the order of lines or pasting together lines from two different files. The paste command allows us to join many parts of files into one line, while the tack command allows us to reverse the lines within a file. As a fun example, let's see a prank based on the use of those two commands.
Our prank's goal is to rename a user's files and directories into dictionary words. First, let's create some files and directories as an example. These can be John Sales, John Projections, Mary Salaries, and Mary Profits. With the find command, we can recursively list the current directory's entries. These are the entries I want to rename. How can we rename them? Let's find out. First, I repeat the above find listing. Then, I pipe it to the paste command to pair each entry with a direct dictionary word from user shared dict words. Thus, paste takes two input lines and outputs the second one next to the first one. Next, I pipe the output to awk. For entries with two elements, where the first one is not the dot, we don't want to rename the current directory, I list the pair. In this case, I want to rename John into A, John Projections into AA, and so on. However, if we leave the list's order as is, with directories arranged before files, we won't be able to rename John Projections into AA. This occurs because by the time John Projections gets renamed, John will already have been renamed into A. To prevent this, I reverse the list's order with a tack command, bringing all files above the corresponding directories. Tack is cat's reverse because it catenates and prints files in reverse line order. In this way, Mary Salaries and Mary Profits will be renamed before Mary. Similarly for John. Finally, it's time to perform the remaining. For this purpose, we need to convert the list's pairs into move rename commands, where the first argument will be renamed into the second. This conversion can be easily achieved with the sed command. Piping the tack's output to sed, I substitute each line's beginning with mv. In this way, we get a list of move commands. Now, to execute them, as we have seen in the past, I pipe the output list to the Unix shell. Let's see what happened. Running find in the current directory, we now get A, AA, AAL, and so on. As an exercise, consider how we can create a script together with the renaming to reverse back the renamed entries of our poor colleague into their original ones.
The rev command reverses the order of characters within each line. Let's see how you can improve the poems you write by using this command.
We'll create a rhyming dictionary for songwriters and poets that will be ordered according to the word's ending. Let's look at the last dictionary entries, which have more interesting endings. Piping these to the rev command, we get them back in reverse order. For example, zymotoxic is spelled backwards sixotomies, and so on. In order to apply this transformation on the complete dictionary, we pipe it all to rev. Then, we sort it to get back the desired order. To get the normal words back, retaining their new arrangement, we pipe again the output dictionary to rev. According to the new order, the last dictionary entries now include sis, ziz, buzz, abuzz, humbuzz, and so on. As you might expect, the last entries in this dictionary end with zz.
If you want to include some randomness into your shell scripts, then the shuff command for shuffle is the one you want to use. I use it regularly in order to shuffle the order of a playlist songs in a media player I've assembled.
Here are some examples. To obtain 5 random words from the dictionary, I run shuff on the file, specifying the argument -n5. With the -e argument, we can specify a word list to be shuffled. For instance, to flip a coin, I run shuff -n1 for a single toss, specifying with -e the 2 coin sides, heads and tails. I got heads in this toss. Try it out on your terminal to see what you get. Similarly, with the -I argument, we can specify an integer range. For example, to throw a pair of dice, I run shuff -I 1 to 6 for 2 tosses. As you can see, we got the numbers 4 and 2.
Sometimes you want to split huge files into a more manageable parts.
This can be useful when a large file cannot fit on storage media. To see an example, I split the dictionary into files of 10,000 words. In this way, we get the files x00 to x23. Each file now contains 10,000 dictionary words, apart from the last one, which contains fewer. Furthermore, in order to assign 52 random numbers into 4 files, say to split cards into 4 decks, I first shuffle the numbers from 1 to 52 and then split the output into 4 files. As a result, we get the files XAA to XAD. Looking into XAA's contents, we verify that it contains the random numbers that were apportioned to this file.
One thing missing from the commands we have seen up to now is a way to transpose rows and columns.
Consider as an example our familiar etc. password file. Here we get the first few lines. As a refresher, the colon-separated fields contain for each user the login name, the placeholder for what used to contain the encrypted password, the numerical user and group identifiers, the actual full name, the home directory, and the user's preferred shell. To transpose the file's columns with its rows, we can use the reshape command. Again, I select the first few lines of password and then pipe them to reshape. I specify colon as the input and output field separators. I also specify with -T the transpose operation. Here's the transposed output. Each row now corresponds to the previous column. Thus, the first row contains all user identifiers, the second all password placeholders, then come the numerical user and group identifiers, then the full names, the home directories, and finally the preferred shells.
This concludes our unit on processing line data. Stay with us.